guys, it's Kate here to tell you about my Genrethon TBR, and I'm so excited to be taking part in the Genrethon readathon that's coming up, and it will be starting on April the 10th and will run until April the 17th. And the goal of the readathon is just to read more than one genre and a minimum of 3 books while you read this, although it is a pretty relaxed readathon, so I'm really looking forward to taking part. And 4 lovely ladies will be hosting: Lauren from Lauren and the Books, Kristyn from Vienna Waits Books, Brittany from Under the Radar Books, and Joce from Squibbles Reads. And I will link all of their announcement videos down below. So, moving on to my TBR, and I have picked a very ambitious TBR, but I have the same feeling with this that I do when I'm packing for vacation and choosing books, is that I have to have tons of options. And even though I probably won't be able to get all of them, I would hate to be stuck with a book that I didn't like. So I have 11 things here, but most of them are really short books, so it's not as crazy as it sounds at first. So the first genre I'll be doing is a play, and I will be reading William Shakespeare's A Midsummer's Dream. And I've only read 2 Shakespeare plays, so I definitely need to fix that. And I picked up a couple of these Shakespeare Made Easy editions, and what I love is that on one side it has the original text, and then on the other side the translated to more modern text. And so, not that I'm going to read just the more modern text, but it's nice to have to consult in case I don't know what something means. And then, of course, I had to include the mystery genre in there, so I have selected 2 mysteries, one more hard-boiled, gritty type thing, and that is Ruth Rendell's Harm Done. This is, I think, the 18th or 19th in the Inspector Wexford series, so I am just very slowly savoring these books because the 24th book is the last in the series. So I really am having fun taking my time through this because this is my favorite detective series. So this one says that one day Lizzie came back from the dead. The police and her family and neighbors had already begun to search for her body. She had been missing for 3 days. A short while later, another young woman disappears just as a convicted pedophile is released back into the community. The residents of the Muriel Campton estate are up in arms and even prepared to take the law into their own hands. Chief Inspector Wexford is not only concerned very personally with the effects of violence and prejudice, but is involved with a new program called Hurt Watch to help the victims of domestic violence. His daughter Sylvia, the social worker and never his favorite, has come to work nearby in a refuge for battered women called the Hide. Her marriage is also in difficulties, although her husband has never raised a hand to her. They are merely incompatible. Other women in Kings Markham are not so lucky, and after those early disappearances, 2 far more serious crimes are committed which will affect the lives and attitudes of police and public alike. So this isn't necessarily a plot line that would grab me right away. Some of it sounds kind of interesting, but it's just the fact that it's an Inspector Wexford and it's Ruth Rendell, and I'm continuing with the series and expecting to be basically blown away yet again by an Inspector Wexford. And then the second mystery that I picked is definitely a cozy and a lot more lighthearted. And it is the first in the Agatha Raisin series, and it's called The Quiche of Death. And Agatha Raisin is a lawyer in London, and then she moves out to the Cotswolds after she retires, being fed up with her job. And she ends up judging a baking contest and buys something at a bakery secretly and brings it to the baking contest also. And her item ends up having poison in it, and one of the judges dies. So it sounds just really interesting, and this was one of my mysteries on my list of mystery series I'd like to get to, and my mom let me borrow her audiobook, so I thought that putting one audiobook in there would be a good way to have more things read for when I'm doing things around the house or driving. It would just be good. And I also actually have it downloaded on my phone when I don't have the discs handy with me. And the next genre I plan on getting to are 2 comics, and that is the 3rd and 4th volumes of the Miss Marvel comics. And I really enjoyed reading the first 2 volumes last summer after so many people on BookTube have been talking about it, and it was just so much good fun. And so I can't believe I've waited this long to read the next 2 ones, but really looking forward to reading those. And then I did pick a couple classics, very short classics though, nothing like, you know, the big chunkers that I have been reading lately. And so the first one is My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. And this is about a British family. This is actually a memoir about a British family who's tired of the dreary, rainy, and cold season that's going on in England, and so they just up and move everything and move to Corfu. And he's got quite a quirky, unusual family, so I think there are going to be lots of anecdotes about that. But he also is just so enamored with nature and is catching all of these bugs and bringing home lots of pets. And it's just such a wonderful setting for a kid that loves nature to be on Corfu. And I've heard this is laugh out loud funny. And I have 2 other of Gerald Durrell's books, and he's written a fair number of books. So maybe after I read a fair number of his, I will move on to his brother Lawrence's books. We will see what I think of him. And then the other classic I picked is my first Thomas Hardy, and that is Under the Greenwood Tree. This is about a school teacher named Fancy Day who moves to a small town and just the different escapades that happen there and the romances. And this is, I think, the only lighthearted Thomas Hardy. The only one with like a really, really happy ending. So this is an unusual one for me to start on, but I have been wanting to read this for a while after seeing the miniseries and wanting to get to more Thomas Hardy. I'm not sure how much I'm going to like him though, just because his story sounds so heartbreaking. So I figured this would be a safe one to start out on. And then if I really like this a lot, then I can move on to Far From the Madding Crowd, which actually has a fairly happy ending. Then I am going to be doing 2 romances, which is not really typical for me, but I thought it would be some really nice lighthearted variety in this readathon and a less serious kind of read. And so the first one I'll be reading I have coming in from the library is called A Girl in a Million, and that's by Betty Niels. And Betty Niels is an extremely prolific romance writer I heard about from Emma over at A Bookish Princess, and she writes very classy, mild romances, so not any really steamy scenes, which I don't really care for so much, so I thought I would try Betty Niels. And it's about Girl in a Million is about a woman who comes to be a nurse for this guy's young son, and then he ends up falling in love with her. So not my typical type of book, but definitely looking forward to giving Betty Niels a try. And then my second is a more vintage romance, and that is Georgette Heyer's Charity Girl. And this is about a girl who runs away from home to, let's see, it says she is a runaway alone on the road to London. She's running away from the drudgery of her aunt's household to find her grandfather. Not expecting her visit, he is away in the country. Then the Viscount Desford encounters her, and he feels honor bound to assist her, but dashing about the countryside together, the Viscount must prevent his exasperating charge from bringing ruin upon herself and him. I have collected about 5 Georgette Heyer romances over the years, and I still haven't read any of hers, so I need to fix that. So I will be reading Charity Girl, and I actually realized another way I can do more reading during this readathon is using the Kindle app on my phone, and this was a book available on the Kindle app through my library, so that would be nice to be able to double up with that. And then another book that I will be doubling up with, and it is in the genre of dystopian, so I guess kind of science fiction also, is a dystopian science fiction retelling of Persuasion called For Darkness Shows the Stars, and that the physical copy will also be coming in from the library soon. And the author is Diana Peterfreund, I think that's how you say it, and it just sounds really awesome. It's like I said, dystopian, and there's lots of it in space, and I just think the story of Persuasion is extremely romantic and could really lend itself to that setting, even though it's going to be really different. So I'm really willing to give it a try, and Kate over at the Novel Nomad enjoyed it, and she really loves Jane Austen, so I thought it would be good to try. And then another book, actually, that she's getting me to try is, sorry, I forgot the title, is The Poison Throne by Celine Kiernan. She loves this trilogy, and in the This and That book tag that she did, she talked about how this was a book she wished more people would read, so I figured I could at least try the first one, and it's just historical fantasy. And the Moorhawk trilogy is what it is, and it's just lots of, I think, politics with different rulers and maybe battles and things like that, and some magic in there. I'm not really sure, but it just has a lot of different elements that sound fun to me. So those are the 11 different things I will be reading, but definitely some shorter books in there, and I hope to be getting to lots of them. And then I also wanted to tell you guys that I'm very excited to announce I will be vlogging during the Genrethon week. So just know these are going to be very low-key, you know, really not edited quick videos. I'm thinking I'm going to be doing a video each morning and each evening. In the morning talking about what I'd like to be reading that day, and then in the evening talk about what I ended up reading, and I think it would be really fun. So they'll just be low-key type things from my phone. I can upload right from my phone. So just little minute or 2-minute videos, and I hope that sounds fun to you guys. And please, if you have made a Genrethon TBR and you would like me to see it, link it down below. And I look forward to telling you guys all about the books that I end up getting to.